You sow a thought, you reap an action. When you reap an action, you sow a habit. When you sow a habit, you reap a character. But when you sow a character, you reap a destiny. Every book with its genre as philosophy chooses a certain storyline to express their philosophical knowledge and keep the readers equally engrossed. So today we are going to talk about one of the most famous book globally, that is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. In this book, the story has been told in a way that there is a conversation between Julian, one of the most successful lawyer, and by successful it is meant he had abundant money which was earned by thousands of cases that he solved, and thus he managed to get a big mansion, a private jet and a Ferrari. And the conversation was between Julian and his associate John. So even though Julian was very successful, somehow he did not get any time for his own life, which resulted in a heart attack in middle of a courtroom. After that, he was submitted to one of the hospitals where John later came to visit him. But Julian somehow did not want to meet any person and sold all his possessions, including his mansion, the car, which is the Ferrari and thus the name, and also the private jet, and went off to the mystic lands of India and to Himalayas. There he came across, in a funny manner, came across the sages of Savannah, where he learned a lot about his life, about the purposes of life, about the importance of discipline, and how it is important that one should be calm and composed and also have a proper habit. So while he was the lawyer, even though he was 50 something, he worked so much and had such an indisciplined life that he looked as if he was 80. But after 3 years, when he came back to US from India after enough knowledge, he looked 10 years younger and was quite thin and so changed and so glamorous and handsome that John at first could not recognize Julian when Julian came to his doorstep. So then onwards, Julian started having a conversation with John, because after that, after spending so many years in Himalayas, his aim of life changed and he wanted to serve the nation or the world by sharing his knowledge that he gained on the Himalayas, and wanted to make every living people's life fruitful and healthy. While in the conversation, John noticed that gone was Julian's old cynicism, his former aggressiveness or the negativity. Julian really felt at peace with himself, and even though John interrupted quite a times between the conversation, Julian did not feel irritated like a normal person would or felt discomfort. He answered John calmly at whatever silly questions he asked. So Julian went on to talk about the powerful influence of self-talk, discipline, and the importance of having purpose in life. He also talked a lot about habits, because according to him, whatever habits we follow leads to our actions. Our actions come from our habits. Thus, it is very important to have daily incremental progress towards building a good habit, which would thus affect our character. Strengthening our character would affect the way we look at ourselves and also affect the actions we take in our daily life. The actions we take comes from the habits that we have in our regular life, and thus the actions and the habits together drives us to our destiny. You sow a thought, you reap an action. When you reap an action, you sow a habit. When you sow a habit, you reap a character. But when you sow a character, you reap a destiny. This book is a step-by-step guide towards self-development and has claimed to help millions of lives across the globe. So now, if I have to give my opinion after reading this entire book, is usually I'm a fan of this genre of philosophy, but when it comes to this book and the amount of praise that I've heard about it, I personally feel that this book is a little bit overhyped. One of my favorite philosophical authors are Paulo Coelho, which I think I've told in many videos. So comparing to his style of writing, this book felt a little flat, but nevertheless this is too nice book. This book is especially for people who are beginners in this genre of philosophy, and maybe don't read a lot, because this is quite a simple book. The language is pretty easy, the vocabulary is easy. What I felt at some point is that the conversation with John and Julian was having was almost 75% of the book, which sometimes made it to me a little boring. Even though the book felt a little monotonous to me, but the values and the teachings that it gives is not any bit less. While reading, I also felt that there's a lot of pinpointing in the writing. Like the author is kind of putting the finger in our eyes and trying to tell us that, see, this is what you have to learn. But what I felt that he could have left few places for the readers to anticipate and come up with their own understanding and understand the text in their own way. So this is one thing in the book which kind of detached me with the writing. And there was a lot of repetition, like when Julian was saying something, he was in every chapter he was kind of referring to that old saying that he had said earlier in the chapter, which kind of got mixed up in every chapter, and at the end it was like a huge build up. This book talks about 10 rituals of radiant life, which I liked particularly. I would tell the 10 rituals of radiant life, but I have written it down here because I don't want to mistake or miss any of the points. So first is the ritual of solitude. Second is the ritual of physicality, which is the power of physical care. The third is the ritual of live nourishment, which involves a proper diet of a person. What should a person prefer over which diet? Fourth is the ritual of abundant knowledge, which means it centers the whole notion of lifelong learning and expanding your knowledge for your own good and the good of people around you. The fifth one is the ritual of personal reflection. Sixth is ritual of early awakening. Seventh is the ritual of music. Eighth is the ritual of spoken word. Ninth is the ritual of congruent character. And 10th, ritual of simplicity. So if somebody asks me if I would recommend this book or not, I would say that I would recommend this book only to people who are not a voracious reader and are young adults, or maybe just young people, because this book is really simple. This book is not for voracious reader who has already read hard philosophical books about life. So thank you. This was all for today. Bye bye.